This tutorial will show you how to properly set up Gantt charts for use in managing projects on Paymo. The Gantt chart is a popular technique used in project management for planning, scheduling, and monitoring projects that shows how activities and tasks display against time. It is useful because it gives answers to critical questions like, what needs to be done? When does a task start and when is it scheduled to be completed? Which activities overlap and what are the connections between tasks? Or, who is the person responsible for a task? Before we can start filling out our Gantt chart, we need to add our tasks and assigned users first. Here you can see I've created a new web design project for our client Artima LLC. We'll start by switching to the Tasks tab and creating a new task list. I'm going to change the default task list name to Web Design and then add tasks relevant to the project. Next, we'll assign users to each task. Now, let's switch to the Gantt chart view and collapse the two left columns to clear up more screen real estate. Here in the Gantt chart view, you can see that tasks appear in the left column with a timeline to the right. The calendar for this timeline can be easily switched from days to weeks to months or even years. The Fit option will automatically choose the appropriate view option so that the entire project's timeline will be displayed. You can also add tasks to the task list in this view by clicking on Add Task. To create a timeline segment for a specific task, navigate to the row for the task, then click and drag on the timeline from the day it should start to the day by which it should be completed. You can also adjust these segments after you create them by dragging on the arrows at the ends to shorten or lengthen them, or move the entire timeline segment. Let's create timeline segments for each of the tasks in our project. Next, we'll set up dependencies for our tasks. Now, there are actually 4 different types of dependencies, which we'll cover in a future tutorial, but for now let's stick with the most intuitive, finish to start, which means that one task must be completed for the next one to begin. To create a finish to start dependency, hover over a task's endpoint until this little circle appears, then click and drag to connect that task to the corresponding circle at the dependent task's start point. Now, let's add dependencies to the rest of our tasks. Now, you'll notice after I've added them that some of these dependencies are a red color, reminding me that the task must be completed before its dependent task starts, so I'll need to adjust my timeline. Here's another Gantt chart with a few more visual indicators. When a segment is past due, it will be highlighted in red, as you can see with these 3 tasks here. The darker color on the Create PID segment indicates the amount of time tracked for this task based proportionately on its budgeted hours. When I double-click the segment to open the task detail view and click on Time Entries, you can see that user Paul has worked 11 hours out of the tasks assigned 50. A hasured portion of a segment indicates that the allocated hours budgeted for the task have been surpassed. As you can see here, our client meeting took twice as long as it was supposed to. Now that you have a fundamental understanding of how to set up Gantt charts in Paymo, you can begin setting them up in your own projects. In the next tutorial, we'll go over some more advanced features of using Gantt charts.